and that's why the governments want to invest in your business, because the goal is to get people off unemployment and to have them more employable, because the government makes money when you work and you pay taxes. And so because I know this stuff, I'm like, how can I help more business owners access it? And I think that's what we want to do right here at Franchise Empire. Is we know about resources, just like you're trying to find the right franchise or buy the right resale franchise. We also have other resources that we can help you out now. They're like, Karriem, how did you do that? I'm like, because I already know there's laws and there's policies already in place. It's just that you don't know what to say to this person to interact and get them to help you. This is the best return on investment of your time. So don't think about you're going to spend a lot of time on it. We're going to do most of like the heavy lifting. This is the best return on investment that you probably can get, where you could get funding for your business and then not have to pay it back.
What I learned going through the process myself was that, how would you like to get free grant money for your business that you do not need to pay back? I recently learned about these business grants available for business owners, and of course, that includes franchise owners. Karriem, who is a multi-unit Little Caesars franchisee and one of the coaches on our team at Franchise Empire, has been helping business owners get these grants for years. He recently helped one of our clients get $15,000 in grants, and that's when he really caught my attention with this, and I figured I needed to learn more about how this all works, because it was something that I had no idea was available, especially over my years of running our franchise businesses. I didn't know that there was free money out there that I could get just for hiring and training people that I was going to hire and train anyways. So in this episode, we dive into these grants, how they work, who they are for, and most importantly, how you can benefit from them and secure some of this grant money yourself for your business. So we recently launched a new service here at Franchise Empire where we actually go out there and find the grants for you and do all of the heavy lifting for you in the process, soup to nuts. So the reason why is because we know, as a small business owner, you're very busy. And what we would find is that we would tell franchisees about these grants. We tell them where to go and what to do, and they weren't doing it. Life was getting in the way and they were really busy. It was getting dropped to the bottom of their to-do list out of, all the things in their business and life. So we just decided, hey, we'll just do it all for you. So if you want to see what grants are available in your area for your business, go to franchiseempire.com/biz grants. So BIZGRANTS. The link will also be in the description below. And there's zero risk to you. If we don't help you secure grant money, you do not pay us a dime. So make sure to share this episode with a business owner or franchisee that you know, so they can benefit from this information as well. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and building your empire doesn't happen overnight. My name is Tarek Johnson, and owning franchises is what helped me go from employee to employer and start building my empire for my family. So this podcast is for you, the empire builders. For those of you who want to build something that stands the test of time. This is for those of you who are crazy enough to believe that you can make the dream in your head come to life. This podcast is all about bringing you real people who are building real empires, so you can get inside their mind and heart and get proven strategies and actionable insights that will catapult you to build, grow, and scale your empire. All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Franchise Empire Show. I got Coach Karriem here. What's up, man?
Hello, what's up, everyone, and what's going on, Tarek?
I'm excited. I'm excited to have this conversation because a lot of people don't know that there's some free money out there for the taking, specifically for, entrepreneurs. And it's just an exciting conversation. So to start out, because when you say the word grant, a lot of people don't even really know what it means, kind of how they work. So let's just start with, like, what is a business grant, and generally speaking, how do they work, and how are they different from loans?
Sure. So and I'm gonna define business grants, and probably the dictionary is probably gonna be different than how I define it. But business grants is when you receive a resource for your business. It could be monetary or non-monetary resource where you don't have to pay back. So and I'll give you two examples of that. Say, for instance, you have a organization, nonprofit organization that does entrepreneurship work in the community. Is helping out businesses. They find a pro bono attorney for you, or they pay an attorney to do some work for you, um, for your business, right? You're not coming out your pocket paying that fee or that expense. Somebody else is, but you don't receive cash, right? So that's one where we talk the non monetary. But then there's the monetary grants where you receive cash paid to your business, to help your business and really to help your business grow, right? That's what we're talking about, business grants. So people are looking for funding or resources to really help their business grow, or they have a gap in their business, and those are what I explain to people about business grants.
Yeah. And so these don't need to be paid back, right?
That's right. Yeah, they don't need to be paid back. If you receive the money, if you follow the steps and you follow them correctly, then they won't have to be paid back. Versus a loan where they someone's going to lend you money, and then that money has to be returned with principal, and if they charge you interest, for interest also.
Yeah. And what's the range in terms of what is available out there? Like, can I mean, how much money can someone get? And what's the most that you've seen someone get?
So the most a client, which is interesting, I got a client approved for $200,000, which is which was
For a grant?
yeah, yeah, man, it was interesting. And so, and they're good friends of mine. So they do recycling of mattresses in New England, and this is years ago, right? Met them in church. They brought me on to really kind of help them strategize their business, kind of do some operational consulting. And then in the meantime, which was crazy because we wasn't really thinking about, the business was growing anyway, but we weren't strategizing about that. We were just like, let's just get the business together. Let's get the employees together. Let's put some operations, some things together. And then during that time, states started passing these laws saying you can't put mattresses in the landfill. And they're like, hey, we're gonna give you a contract to recycle mattresses. So they got like two. So I helped them get two contracts. And then during that same time, the state of Massachusetts is like, we know people don't want to invest in this area, right? To recycle mattresses. We just people don't think that there's money in it. So they're like, if you fill out an application, a grant application, we will help you buy equipment. I was like, dude, we could fill out an application and they help you buy equipment. So they got approved for 200 grand to buy equipment for their business, right? And so at first, they were like, they're not going to they're not going to approve anything. I'm like, who cares? Like, okay, let's just put in and see what happens. And so that was the most amount that I helped someone get for a for-profit business.
That's insane.
Yeah, yeah. For equipment, they were probably gonna buy anyway, right? Because they were growing and they needed it. But if they could get that money back, so be it.
So our team have looked into a few hundred franchises and put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million or more and that have a proven track record of both happy and profitable franchisees. So if you have a net worth of at least $150,000 and you want to see if the territory that you want is still available for any of these franchises, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, let's get back to the episode. Whoa, that's wild. Imagine getting $200,000. That is I'm sure probably the exception, not the norm, but that's still incredible. And it just shows if you don't know about it, then you miss out, which is pretty crazy to think about. And recently, um, Kareem helped one of our clients who had recently become a franchisee, and it hadn't even opened yet, was about to start hiring. Tell Why don't you tell the story about Krista and kind of how that all unfolded, what happened there, what that conversation was like, where you directed her, and then then how much you wind up getting.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Krista opened up a Zoom room in California, and I think less than 30 minutes, right, that we're talking. This is the first time we met, first call, coaching call. And she's like, I'm about to hire 3 people. I got to get these people trained. And I said, whoa, stop. She was like, are you, what are you talking? Like, she was like, are you like you're too stern. I said, no, stop right now. Are you saying you're going to hire 3 people? And because I knew that she was hiring high caliber, first of all, they had to have a background with working with animals and things. So I already knew there was a high caliber person she was looking for. Then she had to train them on the franchise, and she had to pay for them to go to training. Right. So I said, before you're gonna hire them anyway, but let's see if we could get some training money to hire and train them. And so yeah, she followed the process. I found the organization that she needed to reach out to, and she got approved for $15,000 um, that she doesn't have to pay back. And so to date, I think she received about 12,000 of that money so far, because it's a reimbursement grant. So you have to put them on payroll, start paying them, and then submit the payroll to the grantor, and then they reimburse them back a percentage of they pay. So if you just think about it, right, you're going to open up a business, or you're going to buy that franchise, and then some franchises can have a lot of people on their team, right? So if you open up, let's just, I don't, because I'm in the food space, right? You just say you're going to open up a quick service restaurant, and you're going to have 20, 30 people. You're going to have to train them. You're going to have to hire people. So why not see if you could get some funding to help you train those, to hire and train those people, and you could put some money back into your business. And so it's going to help your bottom line, right? Everybody's trying to figure out, how do we make more profit? How do we get our profit from 10% to 20 to 30? This is a way you could do that and also help your business grow.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna hire people anyways, um, might as well get some money for it. I mean, yeah, that's such a cool story because she was gonna hire, like, either way, she was gonna hire those people, so she didn't really do anything different, right? She didn't hire more people than she was originally gonna hire anyway. She just adjusted the sequence of, well, let me apply for this grant first, still move forward in hiring, and then essentially getting back $15,000 for what she was gonna do in her business anyways.
She was going to do it anyway. And the missing piece with so many, smaller businesses, right? Even though some franchises are really big, but we don't know all the resources out there. And sometimes when you don't know there's an opportunity for you, right? And um there's opportunities for franchisees to get funding to help you take your business to the next level. You're gonna put the money out anyway, right? So I'm here in North Carolina, in one of the counties that one of my businesses is called Wake County. They have a grant where if you rehab space and you get approved before you rehab the space, they'll give you some money back. And people are like, why would they do that? Well, one, they're trying to get more businesses in certain areas in the community, on top of they're trying to get more businesses to open up in the county.
Yeah, long-term tax money and
Tax money, that, and some people don't understand that there's organizations out there that will help you get resources for your business, right? And so we received about 4 grants for our franchises. 3 were hiring and training, and then another one was just a training grant. So hiring, training current employees that we have, and us as owners.
that's a perfect segue because what I was gonna ask and what I'm sure people listening wanna know is what are the different types of grants that are available? So you talked about training, hiring, like, what are some of the different ones that are kinda just out there from a category standpoint?
Sure. So I get a lot of calls about people looking for working capital grants. So like they're looking for, and I call it unrestricted money. Means that someone gives you a grant, say it's 5, 10, 20,000, and then you can use it for whatever. Those grants are out there that issue with those is that so many people are applying for them and they don't come out all the time. So, like, say for instance, Verizon does a lot of small business grants, but their small business grant application process sometimes only comes out 2 times a year. So, and it's very competitive. And so, yes, there's funds out there for things like that, but they're not on a ongoing basis. They're not rolling every week, every every month. So those are kind of hard sometimes. But and there's a lot of people applying, but you can still access those. I've seen people access funding. I remember Hennessy during COVID, and then after COVID-19, they did a grant specifically just for Black-owned restaurants, and I helped someone get, I think it was like $5,000. But that doesn't happen every single month, every single year. The hiring and the training grants, if your government entity has that or your nonprofit has the funds, it's not competitive because you're submitting one application and they're dealing directly with you and they're not dealing with 1,000 people and saying we're going to get 5 grants, right? And so it's like, all right, you meet the criteria, we have the funding, we're going to allot this money for you. So those ones, yeah, the hiring, training, the workforce development, those are the ones that I've been trying to tell people they're very successful getting approval quicker than you just going and submitting an application to a large grant pool where there's thousands of people and they're going to give out maybe 1 to 5. Those ones are very competitive, and then those people get frustrated, right? I talk to people all the time. Hey, I put in for this grant, I didn't get it. I say, yeah, because 1,000 people applied for 5 grants. Do you do the math, right? What percentage of those people are going to get the grant? You know?
Yeah. So the niche and really the sweet spot is in the hiring and training, which is why it's, perfect for existing entrepreneurs. And I guess that's why I always ignored the grant space. And if I saw a video on YouTube that was talking about grants, I never watched it because I just assumed with just ignorantly that if it's a grant, it's one of those situations where it's like there's so many people competing, trying to get the money, and I don't want to waste my time having this small percentage of success of where I'm actually going to get approved, or there's, you know, just a major catch to it, or something like that. But what I learned from you is that with a lot of these hiring and training grants that's not the case. And so as an example, so when Kareem told me about when he had helped Krista, because part of what we do in when we work with clients, depending upon how they engaged us, is after they sign their franchise agreement, they have a couple of coaching calls with Kareem. Kareem owns two Little Caesars and has been a multi-unit franchisee, and so Krista had that call. You guys heard the story before. Gets approved for the $15,000 in grants, and I'm like, well, hold on a second. I wonder if there's grants in my area that's available. And so Kareem looks up online. He's like, yeah, I found the contact of who you need to reach out to and go here. And so then I looked into it and then stumbled through an application that took me hours to fill out. And then I found myself going, is this really worth it? Am I even going to get approved? What is this? And kind of this, it's too good to be true. Like there's no way. Then I get an email back that I get approved for over $4,000 in grants for exactly what you're saying, which was I already have the person on my team. And for this one in particular, it was just like, hey, as long as I live in Florida, it's like, as long as you're continuing to hire and develop employees that are based in Florida, essentially, you are eligible. And it's like, oh, okay, interesting. And so, that's $4,000 that I wouldn't have had. And I kick myself because I go, oh, I may have filled. I was just guessing, through the whole thing. And so, I'm sure I probably could have got more depending upon how I would have structured it, which is why Cream and I recently rolled out, our offering where we're essentially help small business owners and franchisees get grants, and we'll basically do all the heavy lifting for you and walk you through what you don't even know don't know, and kind of really consult and advise you on the best way to do it to not only give you the best chance of succeeding and getting approved, but also maximizing the amount that you get approved for, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and it's interesting you say that because, and I think we were talking the other day. I'm like, you also might be able to go back to them and say, hey, um, can we review what you approved? And I might be looking for some more funding, and they might even increase it.
I'm looking forward to doing that.
Right? So that's the other thing that people don't think about is like, uh, especially with the training grants, because some people in my space we're dealing with a lot of people that have a lot of obstacles, as I could say, right? Obstacles that they have come over, or maybe um, they don't have all the training or the capability to do great things. So, well, one manager, assistant manager I hired, I already knew she had some obstacles, right? And I went back to them. I said, I need some more training hours, right? You allotted me 300 hours. Can I get some more? They say, yeah, sure. Because, yeah, that person does need a lot of help. And we talk to them every week and we're trying to help them be more professional and show up on work on time. And, you need to train them more on like how to be more professional when you come to work. How do you talk to people? So the goal is for workforce development is to help people get the skills they need to be employable for a long time, and that's why the governments want to invest um, in your business, because the goal is to get people off unemployment and to have them more employable, because the government makes money when you work and you pay taxes.
Hey, so if you want to figure out if you should buy a franchise and learn the fastest and easiest way to figuring out the best franchise to buy and everything you need to know about the process, then you'll want to go get access to our Franchise Buyers Academy. In our Franchise Buyers Academy, you'll get a behind the scenes look into specific franchises and exactly how much money they are making. You'll get simple formulas for finding money-making franchises and a blueprint on how to scale them into a franchise empire that can be sold for a lot of money later on. You'll be able to finally answer the question on, should I buy a franchise? Now you can get access at franchiseempire.com/FBA. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. That's interesting. And so yes, explain a little bit more about what are some of the different nuances, who's providing and giving these grants, why they do it, and just maybe a little bit more into just kind of how they work overall.
Yeah, sure. So there's this federal agency called Housing, Urban and Development, right? HUD. Everybody like his HUD, right? And they're like, oh, it's housing, 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 right? But HUD approves every year. They get a approval of a budget, and under that budget is economic development, workforce development. There's also the Department of Labor Training. They get a budget, and so remember, the federal government is not doing all the work. They take dollars, send it to the states, and then the states break it down by county, and then sometimes they break it down by city. And then that funding is workforce development and economic development. And one of their goals is to help out small business owners, and then people in workforce development that's looking for jobs to get training, right? So they take their budgets and then they say, all right, we allocated, I don't know, let's say millions of dollars to help small businesses hire and train employees, right? And people are like, I never heard about this. Yeah, because there's no marketing dollars in that budget that the federal government gives the gives the government. So I met one guy at a chamber event. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Because I never seen him out. Right? He's like, well, we got money, and I keep on getting pushed from my supervisors that if we don't spend this money, we have to send it back to the federal government. And so what I did with him? I said, oh, give me your contact information, and then I think within like 24 hours, I had like 5 people calling this guy. He was like, "Oh, thank you very much." He was like, "Yeah, if we don't spend this money, then it's gonna go back to the federal government." So I think I helped out one client. They got approved for like $6,000 for a training grant within a week. And so because I know this stuff, I'm like, how can I help more business owners access it? And I think that's what we want to do right here at Franchise Empire is we know about resources, just like you're trying to find the right franchise or buy the right resale franchise. We also have other resources that we can help you out now. So and I like what we're doing because we just don't help you find the right franchise. We help you with the process and then after the process with more resources. So we're I think probably we're the only ones that are doing what we're doing from soup to nuts, helping people in their franchise and to be profitable as soon as possible.
Yeah, 100%. There's no one out there doing it. It's funny that you said soup to nuts because I literally said that to someone this morning and I've never used that phrase before. So it's really funny that you just said it too.
Interesting. Wow. All right. Yeah, and I wasn't going to say that. I was trying to think about another word, but I don't, another phrase. But I'm like soup to nuts. Yeah, people know what that means, right?
I guess we're just on the same wavelength. Yeah, and I mean it makes a huge difference between being profitable quickly or not because as an example, when we opened up our first store in California, I was very aggressive in negotiating free rent after a build out. Or not after a build out, but just total free rent. So initially the our landlord was going to give us 4 months of free rent and we were able to leverage some stuff with the franchisor of saying, I don't know, we may not approve this site. We may have to find something else and because they were nervous about some of the demographics being short on their criteria. And so we were able to use that as leverage to get more free rent. So we got 7 months of free rent. And so our build out, took basically 2 months. And so we essentially had about 5 months of being open where we were not paying rent. And we were paying our CAM, common area maintenance and all that stuff. But that was, I mean, at that time, the first year lease, it was, maybe around $700 a month. But there was basically another 35 or $3,700 a month in rent that we weren't paying for the first 5 months. So the reason why we were able to get profitable the second month open was because we didn't have a, let's call it $3,500 expense, on our profit and loss statement. And then obviously as we, had more and more months open and sales grew, we were making more and more profit. And so that was the difference in getting profitable so quickly. If we had been paying that rent, we wouldn't have gotten profitable as quickly. Maybe it would have been month 4 or 5 as opposed to month 2. My point in saying all this is that even if you go, okay, well, $4,000, $5,000 grant, maybe someone goes, that doesn't even sound like a lot. But it's like that could be the difference between paying yourself and not paying yourself that month, or being profitable that month or not being profitable, and then really triggering that momentum. And then think about the impact that that could have. Let's say, I mean, because Krista, she was just hiring her initial people to open the business. She wasn't even open to the public yet. So she's starting out her business before even opening, securing $15,000 of additional free money, right? And then now what impact does that have? Because she already had that the 15,000 that she was going to spend either way, that was already packaged in the SBA loan and funding, right?
Yeah.
Like she was going to spend the money either way. So now you get to say, "Oh, I can now the $15,000 that I got back that I spent on, hiring and training, since I wasn't expecting that, what if I went and took even just 10 of that and spent $10,000 more on marketing and advertising that I wasn't planning on doing. And now all of a sudden that has a 4 or 5, however much ROAS, return on ad spend that brings you. And all of a sudden your business is in a completely different place because of 5, 10, or $15,000 that you got. I mean, it's really about seeing the full picture here. It's a big deal.
That's right. You brought up something and you gave me an idea when talking to people now. Well, wouldn't you like not to pay rent for a month? And maybe that is the hook, right? Because people like, oh, 4,000, how much time do I have to spend to get it? But if you think about it, you talk to the business owner and say, how about if you got 1 month of rent for free by getting a business grant to pay for, hiring an employee? People were like, "What? What are you talking?" Oh, now I understand, right? Hey, every month I wish I didn't have to pay my rent, right? It's $3,000 a month, right? With cam and everything for one of my units. I'm like, if I can find $3,000 to offset something else, then that's going to help me to get more profitable, and I can offset. Oh, like you said, use it for marketing, and the we did turnaround. So I was always looking as soon as possible. How can I get my turnaround units right profitable? And one of them were like, hey, if I get a grant to pay for a manager that has a lot of experience. So our first unit, we had a manager that's been in the Little Caesars brand for 5 years, right? And we got a grant for him. And at first, they wasn't going to approve the grant because he has so much experience. But I said, we're bringing on new equipment. He doesn't know how to use the new equipment, and we have to train him on the new equipment and the new process. And they approved it. And so the the amount of um, training I received from that person, because I have 5 years of experience, I probably would have had to pay somebody, I don't know, $20,000 for what I received from this employee. Right? He trained me on certain things I didn't know about, and those are the things that business owners you want to be thinking about. Hey, I could hire a person that has a lot of experience, or right, and using a grant might help you to increase that, maybe that hourly rate. Or I could hire someone, and you know what, they might leave in 2 3 months. So guess what, you just wasted time. You spent a lot of time on training, you didn't get a hiring grant, so now you're out of that 100% cost for that employee. But just imagine you received a hiring grant and now that employee leaves 2 or 3 months, then you're only out whatever, maybe it's 50% of that cost, or 25%. So those are the things you want to be strategizing around, because it's just going to help your business be better. Or I was talking to one franchise that we were coaching, and they said, I have to send my manager to a 2 weeks training. I have to pay for travel, pay them to go to the franchise training. It's a requirement of the franchise. I forgot what franchise it was off the top of my head. And I'm like, and they told you that after you send this person to training, there's a 50% chance they might leave you. I'm like, what? And they said, that's what happens. So I said, you want to get a grant, because if that person leaves, then you're not out all of that money that you spent for travel and training. And if they stay, great. If they leave, guess what? You only lost 50% of that investment. Especially now with turnover, we have depending on your industry, the turnover is very high. So if you can reduce your expenses with that turnover, it's just going to help you out as a business owner. It's a smart business decision. I think it's worth your time and effort. On top of, if you work with us, we're going to help you through that whole process.
Yeah, it's really, I think of it as like an insurance policy. I mean, I'm just thinking back, it really, I kick myself not knowing that this existed before. Because I think about some of the managers that I hired for my store, and outside of just thinking about it from okay, you get for people that may be in a retail business, you get 1 month of free rent, or maybe 2 or 3, depending upon what you're eligible to get. It Another way to think about it is, what if you could have your manager's wages covered for a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, or your employees' wages covered? I mean, there's so many different ways to think about it, but at the end of the day, in business, every dollar counts. Every dollar counts, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to see a positive number on the profit and loss statement, or you're trying to decide if you're going to pay yourself or not, and how much you are going to take out of the business. Um, that even a couple $1,000s makes a huge difference. And really, for kind of shifting the conversation a little bit to the offering that we created, is that really, basically, we work with you for free, and basically share in the success of the amount of the grant you get on the back end. So basically, if we're not able to help you find a grant, if it's not available or you don't get approved, you pay us nothing. and it's the best case scenario. And then if you get approved for the grant, then we share in a percentage that you get because we're going to do a lot of the hard work for you. So, do you want to just talk a little bit about that, Cream? Kind of like what well, actually, first let's take a step back for a second. What one of the things that I learned in doing the grant is that overall the process it can be really cumbersome, right? So it's like there's always a pro and a con. It's like not many people know about it, right? And the money's out there, and they got to give the money out. It's there, it's budgeted, um, but the application, and depending upon well, number 1, you gotta find the municipality, locality, you gotta find what grants are available. You can search around on the internet, maybe easy to find, maybe a little bit more complicated to find. There was still even after Kareem sent it to me, there was still, like, I had to figure out because there were, like, different types of grants, and it was like, well, which one is applicable to what I'm trying to do? There was different eligibility requirements for the different ones, and so I had to figure it out on my own, and it took a good investment of time, and it was fairly complex. To be honest, it was like, oh, okay, trying to wrap my head around how this all worked, and then it's like, okay, great, now I'm going to put in an application. So the one I applied for was a training grant. And then it was like, "Oh, well, you have to create a training program." Then it was like, "Oh, okay." So I had to brainstorm this training program in the application, and the application was long, and they wanted details and specifics of what is it called? How does the training program work? And all these elements that I really wasn't prepared to answer, and it was and my thought process was, well, if I just half-ass it, maybe I don't get approved. So I've got to really make sure I think this through, so that I can get this approved. And then finally, after I put in the application, then there's all these other documents that I had to submit for the application in order to be considered for approval. Then I had to follow up a few times because it was like, I haven't heard from anyone. What's going on? And then finally, it was like, okay, you got approved. Yes, awesome. And then it's like, okay, well, here is the reimbursement criteria and tracking that you need to do. That's like, oh man, there's more. So, part of why we created this this offer and service is that we do a lot of the heavy lifting for you because and I was just talking to Bridget about this last night. We had our date night, and she goes, "Yeah, there's a lot of public art projects for artists, because she has artists under her umbrella that she helps sell their art, and she's an art dealer." She goes, "The challenge is that a lot of the artists they get stuck and don't fill out all of the applications, and they know about it, but it's just they're you know." And so my fear was that okay, when we're thinking about how can we help franchisees and business owners get this money out there. Well, it's like if we just tell them and just say, okay, here's the website, we found you the contact. Well, we already know that because we went through that before. You've done that with people and they didn't follow through because they're busy, right?
That's right. And they don't know what sometimes they even say, right? They just, that's the biggest thing, right? And plus they don't even know who to talk to, right? Or what to say. So we help you find the right person and then give you the right words to say. Because if you say grants, usually people like the government people just like shut down. Like they hear it all the time, right? Is really how do you get them to start helping you? And the goal is to say, to those people, give you the right questions and the right avenue to say what you're doing with your business, right? Because you say grants, they can be like, yeah, we got tons of grants, but that's not going to help you. How can I help you as a business owner? Oh, you're looking to hire people? Yeah, I can help you do that. And so that's the thing that we do. And then we also set them up with a process. So we have a checklist that we help them out with because we know that there's going to be certain documents and things they're going to have to provide.
Yeah. And then essentially what we're doing is a lot of the heavy lifting for you because then you have to get through the application process. So you're really being handheld through the process overall, all the way to getting reimbursed, right? And the idea was to remove the obstacles and the barriers that like I've been experiencing. So I'm like, I know if it's a problem with me, I'm busy, I have a family, I have this and that. The last thing, even when I was filling out that application, I mean, I remember very vividly, it was a Saturday that I was working. I was here in the office because sometimes when it's our daughter's nap time, Bridget will alternate. Maybe I'll go do something with our son, she will, and then one of us will work for a few hours. And I just remember it took that whole multi-hour window of our daughter's nap time for me to figure it out. I had to use Chat GPT because it was like, there's no way I can do this application this quickly. So I was able to leverage that, do that. I mean, I really had to hammer through in order to get it done. And so that's some of the stuff that basically we're going to take off of your shoulders, or specifically Kareem, because there's barriers there. And the barriers are there for a reason. I mean, they're giving out free money. So it's like you've got to get through some hoops in order to be able to receive it.
That's right. That's right. And it's interesting you talk about the art. Yeah, there's tons of money for the art people. I remember I worked on a project in the state of Rhode Island, and I'm like, man, y'all giving artists that much money? Just yeah, we got money. I'm like, but you're not telling people how to access it. It's like, yeah, we don't have time to do it, but the people that know us know us. I'm like, I'm an artist. I can just do it, like you said, do a mural in the community and get paid 10 grand for it if I just go to the arts department and fill out the right documentation. I like it is. So that's one of the things that you will get, because I've been so involved with economic development on a federal, state level, working with economic development people. I kind of know certain things, um, and know how to talk to people. Like I remember I was working with an organization. They were trying to get money from the city of Worcester in Massachusetts. And I said, listen, this is what you all need to do. Get me on a call with this person. So we all did a conference call. I said, don't say anything. Just let me ask questions. And I said to the guy, hey, you have this community development block grant. And he says, yes. And I said, and don't you know you're supposed to help out minority small business? He says, yes. I said, well, can you give this group a grant? He's like, yeah, of course. We do it all the time. Right? And the people after the meeting, they're like, Kareem, how did you do that? I'm like, because I already know there's laws and there's policies already in place. It's just that you don't know what to say to this person to interact to get them to help you. And so remember, government people they don't have sales goals, right? They just say how many people you helped, how many people you talked to. Like nobody's walking in their office like with us, where like, hey, you know what? Hey, we got these are our goals. This is what we need to do.
How much money have you dispersed?
That's right. So they start to get tense when now the federal government says, hey, we're gonna take back money that you haven't put out on the street, and then they start panicking. But a lot of those people they're not hitting pavements, they're not walking down Main Street, knocking on doors all the time. And so you have to, as a business owner, have to work with someone that's gonna help you navigate it, right? And because I think a lot of people like sports. It's easy to say it, right? There's coaches for sports teams for a reason, to help players navigate certain obstacles and also use the strong points of those players.
Yeah. And what I learned going through the process myself was that time is actually of the essence. Like if this is something you want to pursue, you've got to move quickly on it because the money can and will run out. That's one of the things I learned with at least the one that I went through for Florida. And was it for Orlando specifically, maybe Orange County overall, but that there's a limited they have a limited amount of money to disperse, and once it's dispersed for the year, that's it. It's out for the year until, the next year. So, is that how all of them work? Do all of them have limited pools of money, and once it's done, it's done? Or how does the kind of budget allocation work, or just total resource pool?
Yeah, usually that happens. I was talking, I think a month or 2 months ago, I was talking to a franchise owner in our community, and that's what happened. Sent them to the right place, found the right person. They say we just ran out of money for those things, and then sometimes Um, they have a lot of money. They just haven't done the outreach to kind of get people to fill out the application. That's what happened to the gentleman I met at the chamber event. He was coming. He said, "Listen, I have $10,000. I have 30 days to find a business to spend this money with." So I already knew he was gonna get an approval. If I sent this business on, they want to get approved very quickly. In a week, they got approved for 6,000, right? Because he said, "Listen, listen. If I have to get this money out like ASAP, and I sent the person over in a week, they got approved." And so some of it can be the money ran out, or they have so much money they're willing to work with people. And so the big businesses know about this, y'all, right? Amazon, Apple, when they build facilities, they know about this information. They have people working on this. It's the small business owners that they probably outsource in accounting, outsource in HR, and they might not have interactions with their economic development organizations or they might have interaction, but it's not the interaction to help with resources. You know,
It so boggles my mind. I'm so excited to see as we help people with this, what are some of the other success stories that are gonna happen and what people are going to get because it's yeah, it's just like it's the ripe for the pickings, really is
like I have an application I need to fill out myself for a training I would like to do for one of my businesses. And so I just called the person back up and I said, "Hey, I'm looking to do another training." It's like, "Oh, you already know the process, Cream. Here's." So it wasn't even like we might approve you. He said, "Hey, if the things line up and you fill out the same information you did before, you're already in the system. We'll probably approve it for sure."
so cool. So cool. Awesome, guys. Well, if you want to get help with this and have a conversation to see if there's anything available, any grants available in your area and what you might be eligible for, you go to franchiseempire.com/biz grants. So BIZ grants, grants. We'll also link in the descriptions below. Um, Before we rock and roll, anything else that folks need to know about kind of these grants and just putting themselves in the best position to get access to them?
Yeah, I would say for people, this is the best return on investment of your time. So don't think about you're going to spend a lot of time on it. We're going to do most of like the heavy lifting. This is the best return on investment that you probably can get, where you could get funding for your business and then not have to pay it back.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And the fact that you could potentially go back multiple times is really interesting to me too.
It's huge. Yep. There's a limit. They have a yearly limit, and then sometimes they might not have a limit because I remember I was talking to one city down here in North Carolina. It was like, "Hey, we just got approved for $1 million and we don't even know how to spend it." So they just in 30 days, 60 days, they had to put money out on the street and come up with a program. So there's a lot of resources out there for us as franchise small business owners, and we just have to get connected to the right people. And people saw it in COVID-19. There was a lot of stuff out there. Hey, we're trying to have businesses survive. There were people that were getting computers for free, right? People were getting all types of stuff. So a lot of people are still hyped about that. But it's a little bit right now, the process, you have to know what you're doing, really, and know who to talk to get access to the funds.
Oh yeah, and during that time, wow, I mean the PPP and the ERC, all that stuff was that was huge and a game changer for a lot of people and helped and saved a lot of businesses. So these things aren't as widely known. So
That's right. And on top of it, you just reminded me something. That I think December 31st is when the American Rescue Plan Act, so it's called OPER. Everybody talks about OPER, American Rescue Plan Act. A lot of those funds will be going away. So this is the time to really, there's a lot of governments have a lot of money that they're trying to get out because December 31st, that act goes away unless they extend it again. We don't know.
ooh, interesting. Okay, that's good to know. Well, Kareem, awesome. Looking forward to helping a lot of business owners get some grants and get a lot of money and share some of those success stories. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll keep spreading the good word.
You're welcome, Tarek. Awesome.
Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.